Hello fellow scaled modelers, welcome back to another video. It's your host Ray. Today's video is a tutorial on the full build process of an HO scale Thunderbolt. This video is a tutorial on how to build the HO scale Thunderbolt Siren kit made by Relford Clifton Models. I have received quite a few requests on making this video because people now are ordering more and more kits just like this one, and quite a few people would like to build their Thunderbolt Sirens just like how I build mine. So I figured I'd film a tutorial, and it was no easy task, and I was unable to capture a few things, but I caught most of it on video. So I'll do my best to explain how I build everything, and hopefully this can help you. So without further ado, let's begin. When you first open the bag, you will see an assortment of parts. This is what should be included. If any of the parts are missing, check the inside of the instructions, as the parts could have become wedged in between the pages. Before you begin the building process, make sure you have the correct tools to build the kit. First, precision tweezers. These will allow you to grab small parts without the risk of losing them. Second, super glue. Any quick setting glue should work, but I prefer cyanoacrylate for my glue. It also helps to have a precision applicator so you don't make a mess when gluing small parts. Finally, a hobby knife. Any knife with a very sharp blade designed for hobby purposes should work. Do not use a kitchen knife. It also helps to have a placemat or some sort of base to do your work on, so you do not ruin the desk or table you are working at. A piece of cardboard should do the trick. Once you're ready and you have all the tools you need, you can begin the building process. I usually begin with removing flash from the pieces. Flash is extra plastic that can be found in between small gaps and the exterior of small parts. Flash is very brittle and weak, so it is fairly easy to remove. Just be careful not to break the parts while cutting it away. Once you've cleared the flash, you can begin the building process. I like to start with attaching the horn to the rotor tube and horn support. Before gluing the parts together, it helps to test fit the parts together to see how they fit. Once you've done this, you might have a better idea as to how the horn fits. When performing this step, be very careful when you glue the parts together. Apply a very small amount of glue to the back end of the horn. When you glue the horn to the rotor tube, you need to act fast and check the alignment of the horn, as it will be very difficult to adjust it after the glue has cured. If there is alignment issues, you can try to bend or twist the horn to align it. Once the glue has cured and the horn is aligned correctly, you can attach the horn support to the horn. Apply a small amount of glue to the horn support and simply push it until it touches the horn. If your horn support is bent, you can bend it a little bit so it is in the correct position. But be extra careful here, as you can break the horn support. And trust me, it's not easy to fix it. Moving on to the next step, attaching the mounting flange to the rotator. Before beginning this step, please note that it's very difficult to perform, and you may end up messing up your model if you do it incorrectly. You can skip this step and wait until later to do it. Performing this step makes the painting process easier if you intend on painting the blower pipe a different color than the siren head. If you are painting the siren head the same color as the blower pipe, do not glue the mounting flange and rotator onto the blower pipe just yet. So, to pull this off, you need to put the mounting flange onto the blower pipe. Do not glue the mounting flange onto the blower pipe. Once you are ready, you need to add a small amount of glue onto the part where the mounting flange touches the rotator. Try not to get glue onto the blower pipe. Push the mounting flange up the blower pipe until it reaches the rotator. When you finish that, check the alignment of the mounting flange. The sides of the mounting flange should be parallel to the sides of the rotator. Once the glue has cured, you can remove the rotator and mounting flange from the blower pipe. You have just completed the siren head assembly. Put the horn and rotor tube assembly onto the rotator and test the fit out. If it is tight, then that's good. If it's loose, then don't worry, we will fix that later in the video. Now grab the blower and blower pipe. We are going to attach the blower pipe onto the blower. If you are going to paint the blower pipe a different color than the blower, then do not attach the pipe to the blower, so the paint process isn't as difficult. Take the blower pipe and bend it as shown, unless you are doing your own custom setup. You may have to use a set of pliers to achieve this. Make sure you bend the smoothest side of the pipe, so attaching the pipe to the blower is easier. If you feel the need to do so, you can sand the pipe after you are done bending it, so it is easier to attach to the blower. When you're ready to attach the blower pipe to the blower, and once again, do not do this if you're painting the blower pipe a different color than the blower, apply a small drop of glue to the bent part of the pipe as shown. Then, attach it to the bottom center of the back of the blower. Make sure the side with the vent is on the opposite side. Hold the pipe and blower together until the glue cures, and make sure the blower pipe is perfectly straight. It may take multiple attempts or coat of glue to get the blower and blower pipe to stick together. If you want to shorten the blower pipe, then now is the time to do it. This is why I didn't want you to glue the rotator and mounting flange onto the pipe just yet. If you don't want to shorten the pipe, then skip ahead. If you want to shorten the pipe, cut it with cutting pliers as shown. The end doesn't have to be smooth, but if you want to make it easier to attach the rotator and mounting flange to the pipe, then you can sand it down until it has a smooth edge. Now, this is where things get complicated. If at this point you're going to paint the blower pipe, siren head, and blower the same color, then you can attach all three together. If not, then do not attach them together. At this point, you're done building the siren. You should be ready for the painting process. Now we will begin the painting process. When you're ready to paint your siren, you have a few different options as to what you can do. My preferred methods are hand painting or airbrushing. Hand painting is pretty self-explanatory. You just take a brush and paint the siren. While hand brushing is the easiest method of painting, it takes a longer amount of time and you run the risk of filling up some of the smaller details of the siren with paint. You'll also end up with brush marks on the paint, which in small models is very easy to notice and is not desirable. The second option, which is my preferred option, is using an airbrush kit. This method takes less time and allows you to paint the model without leaving brush marks or leaving inconsistencies on the surface. If you are new to scale modeling, instantly jumping into airbrushing is not a good idea, so make sure you have prior experience with airbrushing before painting your siren. Using store-bought spray paint is also not the best idea, because more likely than not, the paint will be too thick and it will fill in all of the small details, which is definitely not wanted. I learned this lesson myself, as for a decent amount of time, I used spray paint on some of my models and they didn't turn out the best. Now onto the siren. Most Thunderbolt sirens are painted in some form of yellow or orange, but there are different colors and paint schemes that exist that you can choose from. If you're having trouble deciding how you want to paint your siren, feel free to look at the paint guide PDF in the description. If you want to paint the mesh screen that goes into the horn, I highly recommend using an airbrush, as there is next to no risk of filling in the gaps in the screen. If you want to paint the screen but you are not airbrushing, then there is a much greater risk of filling in the holes of the screen. I recommend painting the base color of the siren first. The base color is the color of the siren without any logos or cosmetics. If you are painting the whole siren the same color like I am, then painting the base color is pretty easy. If you are using more than one color for the siren's paint, paint the lightest color first, then add the darker colors. Painting the lightest color first is always a good idea, since painting a light color over a dark color usually takes more time and more paint. Once you're done painting the base colors of the siren, you can begin to add smaller details such as decals, logos, and weathering. Weathering is the visual effect on something as it ages. In this case, weathering could be rust, chipped paint, or faded decals, just like the real Thunderbolt sirens. If you intend to add rust or any sort of weathering to your siren, I recommend painting any logos or adding any decals before you weather the siren so you get a better look in the end. I always hand paint any logos or decals that I want to put on the siren, since I'm too broke to afford custom decals. If you have the ability to make custom decals, then do that instead of painting on the logos. It will save you a lot of time. If you want to paint your logos on, then keep following along. I use a fine tip brush for this step. Any brush that has a fine tip should work. These are the brushes that I use to paint small details. It's always a good idea to plan ahead of time what you are painting on your siren, because depending on what paint you are using, you only have one shot at this. I use watered down acrylic paint. I recommend using paint that has the same consistency of milk, maybe a bit thicker. Now, for painting these details. It's very hard to do, and you need to train your fingers and hands to paint these details with precision. You will also need good hand-eye coordination. Even after 5 years of building scale models, it's still very difficult for me to do, and it's a skill that takes a lot of time to learn. So if you can't get it first try, do not be discouraged. Just keep on pushing. Now that you're done with the painting process, you can finish building the siren and begin the mounting process. To attach the mesh screen that goes into the horn, just add a small amount of glue to one side of the screen. Make sure you test fit the screen before gluing it into the horn. If you don't like the included mesh screen, you can always make one out of nylon tulle, though nylon tulle screens are harder to put into the horn. If the chopper and horn assembly fits very loose on the rotator assembly, I recommend fixing that. If it's not that big of an issue, then ignore this. If you painted your model using an airbrush, try fitting the chopper and horn assembly onto the rotator. The layer of paint might be thick enough to create a tighter fit. If that doesn't work, or if you didn't paint the siren with an airbrush, all hope is not lost. You can try adding sticky tack or some sort of substance that will tighten the gap. Be careful when doing this, since it's not that easy to do. Once you're done building and painting your siren, you are ready to begin the mounting process. There are thousands of different ways you can mount your Thunderbolt siren, and there is no way we can cover all of them in a single video. There are two main categories of mounting types: pole mounted and building or structure mounted. Let me summarize the two. Pole mounted Thunderbolt sirens are sirens mounted primarily on a pole of some type. Building or structure mounted sirens are primarily mounted on a building or structure. It's pretty self-explanatory. For this setup, I will be doing a pole mounted Thunderbolt. To begin the mounting process, you need to have a firm base. A building roof or structure counts as a good base. Anywhere on your HO scale train layout should work as well, but for those of us who don't have a layout like me, a poster board base or Lego base should work just fine. To build a base, first make it using Legos, poster board, or anything else that is firm and won't bend. Once you have a base, depending on what you're trying to build, put the ground of the diorama onto the base. For this model, I just used a diorama grass sheet. You can buy some diorama supplies at your local hobby store, and there is plenty of options online as well. Once you have the base or ground ready, you have a few different options as to what you can do. For my setup, I put the air compressor on a concrete pad on the ground. If you are making a structure mount, then glue your siren to the place it's going onto. If you are making a pole mount, I recommend gluing the siren to the pole it will be mounted on before attaching it to your diorama. You don't have to do that, but I personally find it easier to do it that way. You can also glue the pole down to the diorama, then attach the siren to its mount, but it's a bit more difficult through this method. For this model, I decided to add blower pipe holders for the first time. If this is your first Thunderbolt Siren model, then skip this, since it was very difficult to pull off. To make blower pipe holders, you can just cut thin styrene plastic into little strips and bend them to fit to the pipe and the pole. You can make other support structures using thin styrene plastic. Paper and note cards work as well, though paper or similar materials tend to be harder to work with. In many Thunderbolt mounts, the air compressor tends to have a wooden pad. I made a wood pad for my Thunderbolt using styrene plastic parts. You can use the included wood, but I didn't want to use it since it was too thick. Cut the wood to your personal preference. I decided to use this design because it is fairly common in Thunderbolt mounts. Once you're finished mounting your siren, you can consider it done. If it's your first time making a Thunderbolt Siren model, I recommend stopping here. Over time, you'll get more experience building these, and it will become easier each time. Now, if you're ready and want to go the extra mile, then keep watching. The next step is unimaginably difficult, but it will make your siren look a lot better. This is the final part of this tutorial. Once again, be very careful with your decision, since this is very difficult. Adding wires overall just improves the look of your siren and mount. While adding wires is nice and all, there are a few safety hazards in the process. I will point those out shortly. The safety hazards present are burning yourself, cutting your fingers, and gluing your fingers together. I should also mention that you're required to have precision tweezers because there is no way anybody can pull this off with their fingers only. There may be a few different methods of making conduit wires, but this is my technique. I use spare plastic from other scale model kits, I cut a piece from it, and I use a lighter or candle to light it on fire and begin to stretch it to the size I want. Be extra careful not to burn yourself while doing this. If you are a younger modeler or just beginning, I recommend asking a parent for help to perform this step. Once you're done making your wires, you can just freestyle it from there. There really is no limit as to how you can wire your siren, just make sure that everything is connected as it should be. There should be 3 to 4 wires coming from the RCM cabinet, 1 wire going to the blower, 1 to the siren head, and 1 to a power supply, and depending on your setup, a wire going to any other control boxes. Once you've finished wiring your siren, then you're done. Congratulations, you have just finished building an HO scale Thunderbolt siren. With time, your skills will improve if you're a beginner, and processes shown here will become easier. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope this helped you in building your Thunderbolt kit. If you have any questions or anything to say, feel free to comment down below in the comment section. If you build a kit, try making a video once you're done and put a link in the comments. I'm curious to see what you guys can build. Please consider subscribing or supporting the channel on Patreon. Anything I can get really makes a difference because scale modeling is a very expensive hobby and I pay for my own supplies and kits out of my own pocket. So anything I can get, as I said earlier, truly counts and I really appreciate it. Also, join my Discord server to talk directly to me as well as a few other siren enthusiasts and scale modelers. That's all for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. It's your host, Ray, signing out.